When tensions on the Korean Peninsula surge, one question re-emerges with almost visceral force in Seoul. Can North Korea's artillery actually devastate the capital within the first hour of conflict? This question taps into a deep and enduring anxiety, rooted in decades of political confrontation, geographic vulnerability, and advances in weapons technology. Close scrutiny of open-source data, recent exercises, and analytical modeling suggest that the threat is real in psychological terms, but far more complex and nuanced when measured against modern counter-battery capabilities and battlefield dynamics. North Korea's artillery posture has long been a centerpiece of its deterrence and coercive strategy. Thousands of guns, howitzers, rocket launchers, and multiple launch rocket systems are positioned within striking distance of Seoul. The regime periodically demonstrates or propagandizes this capability as central to its asymmetric deterrent. In May of this year, photographs released by North Korean state media showed Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un inspecting a sprawling production facility dedicated to the KN-25 rocket artillery system, underscoring Pyongyang's prioritization of what it classifies as a hybrid strike platform with strategic reach. The rockets fired from this system are large, 600mm caliber, and have been reported to strike up to approximately 380 kilometers, a range that could reach deep into South Korean territory without crossing the Demilitarized Zone. The KN-25 is not simply a legacy Cold War multiple launch rocket system. It is often described by military analysts as a rocket missile hybrid because its combination of size, mobility, and guidance systems blurs the line between conventional artillery and short-range ballistic missile forces. The system's inertial navigation and possible satellite guidance reportedly allow for improved accuracy, enabling strikes on command centers, logistics hubs, and other critical infrastructure. Photographs of both tracked and wheeled variants suggest that Pyongyang seeks mobility and survivability for dispersed firing positions, complicating detection. Alongside the KN-25, North Korea retains a number of older, but still potentially troubling long-range tube artillery systems. One of the most notable is the so-called Koksan self-propelled gun, with a 170mm bore that can reach around 40 kilometers with conventional shells or up to 60 kilometers with rocket-assisted projectiles. This latter range puts parts of Seoul well within reach from entrenched positions near the border. Unlike more modern designs, however, these guns fire slowly and are highly visible when they operate, making them vulnerable to counter-battery fire once they reveal their positions. Predicting exactly what would happen in a first-hour barrage is notoriously difficult, and estimates in public media have historically ranged from dire to speculative. Headlines and some analyses have previously posited that hundreds of thousands of civilian casualties could occur within hours of hostilities erupting. These figures, however, rely on simplistic assumptions that ignore how modern counter-battery systems, civil defense measures, and tactical mobility can alter battlefield outcomes. Academic modeling published in mid-year analysis finds that although North Korea's conventional artillery could inflict casualties and damage in Seoul, the magnitude of destruction is uncertain and could be significantly lower than widely claimed when realistic battlefield dynamics are considered. One quantitative assessment suggests that fatalities could range from a few hundred to a few thousand within a combat scenario, depending on how quickly counter-battery forces neutralize firing positions and how effectively civilians shelter. What has changed the calculus since earlier decades is the extent to which modern sensor, fire control, and counter-battery networks shift the balance. A key element in this shift is the deployment of advanced radar and firefighting systems, such as the TPQ-74K counter-battery radar, developed by the Republic of Korea's Defense Acquisition Program Administration. Fully operational across Army Corps units nationwide, this radar uses active electronically scanned array technology to track multiple incoming rounds and rapidly calculate their origin points, enabling responsive targeting of artillery and rocket launchers before they can relocate. The mobility and stealth of such systems make them critical components of the defense architecture against sudden barrages. On the South Korean side, the military's own long-range rocket artillery has evolved far beyond older models. The K-239 Chunmoo multiple launch rocket system, in service since 2015, can fire a variety of rockets with ranges from tens of kilometers up to more than 160 kilometers and beyond. Some guided variants achieve precision by combining GPS and inertial navigation, enhancing their effectiveness against dispersed or high-value targets. The versatility of Chunmoo allows Seoul's forces to adapt to numerous battlefield scenarios, including rapid counterfire, deep strikes on artillery staging areas, and battlefield shaping to disrupt enemy fire missions. In addition to rocket artillery, South Korea's main battlefield guns include the K-9 Thunder self-propelled howitzer, a highly capable 155mm artillery platform. With an inventory of nearly 2,000 units by 2025 and ongoing upgrades to newer variants, K-9 Thunder combines range, firepower, and mobility. Its different ammunition types extend range and lethality, enabling sustained engagements or precision strikes as part of a coordinated counter-battery network. Taken together, these capabilities reflect a broader evolution in how Seoul and its allies approach the artillery threat. Joint exercises in live-fire drills involving Chunmoo systems specifically designed to counter North Korean artillery demonstrate a proactive approach to deterrence and operational readiness. These drills are framed not merely as demonstrations, but as validated training that integrates sensors, fire control, and logistics to ensure rapid and decisive responses in a high-intensity conflict environment. Analysts point out that in the initial stages of a conflict, the contest between artillery forces is not simply about who can fire the most shells, but about who can detect, target, and neutralize threats more quickly. Modern counter-battery doctrine emphasizes a short sensor-to-shooter loop, meaning that once hostile artillery reveals itself through firing, it becomes a target for radar-directed counterfire. This doctrine significantly reduces the window of vulnerability that Seoul might otherwise face. Civilians in Seoul have also been part of extensive public safety and civil defense planning, with designated shelters, evacuation protocols, and early warning systems designed to mitigate casualties in the event of bombardment. These measures reflect decades of preparedness exercises and drills that recognize the complex interplay between military operations and civilian safety. This combination of modern firepower, sensor networks, and defense planning suggests a more layered and resilient defense posture than public perceptions might imply. While North Korea's artillery, especially systems like the KN-25, pose a psychological and strategic challenge, the reality on the ground in a high-intensity conflict would likely see rapid neutralization of many of these assets through coordinated counter-battery operations. The mathematical models that estimate casualties support this view by showing that with effective defensive fire and sheltering, the most severe scenarios are not deterministic outcomes. That does not mean the threat disappears. Artillery bombardment would cause disruption and could inflict civilian harm, particularly in the initial moments of conflict. But framing the question purely as one of existential destruction oversimplifies the broader military dynamics and the capabilities of 21st-century battlefield systems. For viewers in Seoul and across South Korea, understanding these nuances is essential not only for informed public discourse, but for appreciating the depth and sophistication behind national defense planning. In the end, the artillery challenge on the Korean Peninsula remains a sobering subject. It is a reminder of the historic and ongoing tensions that define the region's security environment. Yet, analytical rigor and open-source evidence suggest that Seoul's defenses, backed by advanced counter-battery networks, long-range precision fire systems, and civil preparedness, are far from impotent. The prospect of artillery unleashing devastation in the first hour must be judged not by fear, but by an informed assessment of capabilities, strategies, and the realities of modern warfare.